Testing. Are you guys there? Hello? Okay, well, I'm going, it says live. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, is it still slow? Okay, that is so weird. I'm not pressing anything. I just moved my camera down, and for some reason, all by itself, it goes slow audio. I don't know why. Okay, so I guess from here on out, when I go to move my camera down, I'll have to pause the live feed, move my camera down, turn it on, and see if it works. I have no idea why it's doing that. Okay, let's start over. Hi, everybody. How y'all doing? I hope you're having a great day. I hope you had a great weekend. I know it kind of throws me off a little bit when I have Monday off, and then I keep thinking Tuesday's Monday. So we're going to have a great show today. And next Tuesday, I think I'll just have to maneuver my camera a little bit different. So today's project is I'm going to show you how to wire wrap a bangle bracelet with this really cool crisscross pattern. I just love it. I think it's a fun pattern and it's fairly easy, and it just gives a cuff a little bit more bling, especially with these stones. Look at how faceted and beautiful and colorful these are. They're a beautiful shade of like pink and green, and they're faceted with this great diamond cut, so they're super sparkly, and you can make probably 3 bangles if you buy their products today. So you definitely get your money out of everything. And then I'll be using some smaller ones for the earrings. So to start out with, oh, you want me, oh, okay. Is this a little bit better if it's lower? And it's really fun project too, and it just slides on your wrist, and you can pinch it down, and you can wear it all day, and it's comfortable, and it's lightweight. And oh, are you able to see it fits down low like this? Or you mean move it up closer to me? Hi, Nicole. Okay. Can you see if I do it like this? Okay. So the product that's so weird. I'm sorry. On my screen, okay. Awesome. Okay. So here's what we'll be using today is a 21 gauge 3mm artistic wire brand wire, and I'm using bare copper because you can do so much with bare copper. For example, you can patina this if you want with liver of sulfur and do an antique copper, or you can leave it raw and just wire wrap over it and allow it to naturally tarnish on its own time. But I just love raw copper. I feel like you can do a lot with it. And we'll also be using 24 gauge artistic wire brand bare copper as well. So to get started, you want to measure out how long you want your bangle to be for your wrist. So if you want to have an 8-inch bracelet, for example, you'll want to cut 8.5 inches of copper wire. So to start with, you kind of want to unfold it a little bit because it's going to be curled in the packaging, and kind of lay it next to your ruler to determine how long you want it. So I want to cut 7.5 inches for a 7-inch long bracelet. And you can just use regular wire cutters. Go ahead and cut off your wire. And the awesome thing about this flat wire, it comes in 2 sizes, 5mm and 3mm. And it's actually pretty stiff. It holds its shape really well, but it's also malleable, so you can fold it around and move it and do pretty much whatever you want with it, but it also holds its shape really well. So it's kind of like the best wire possible. It's wonderful to bend and work with, but it also holds its shape really well, but it's also easy to work with. So it kind of like hits all the check boxes. So then I'm just going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to rotate them around and curl the ends in and like so, and just kind of do this. So I have these ones done on each side. And then the next step is getting out your bracelet. I'm going the wrong way. Your bracelet bending tool. So I'll be using a bead-along or artistic wire brand bracelet mandrel. It looks like this guy, but you can use whatever tools you have at home to form a bracelet. And depending on what size you want, you just select this shape, you know, to kind of meet your bracelet or bangle size here and curve it around. And that will help form your bangle really well. And you just kind of press it in and mold it around and just kind of bring your wire around and pinch it down. And that will help hold your cuff design. So here you have your basic cuff formed. And the next step is we're going to be cutting off some wire to wire wrap around it. And before you do that, you might want to double check that it fits around your wrist the way you want it to lengthwise. So if it's too long, you can trim off the ends and then just recoil it in with your round nose pliers to adjust the length and then pinch it down and just make sure, okay, this is how you want your cuff to fit on your wrist. And if you're good to go, then the next step is cutting our 24 gauge wire. And I'm using 24 gauge because it will help like hold the shape on the bangle and will help reinforce the metal and kind of make it more stiff and like hold it in place better with everything. But it's still also easy to bend around stones being the 24 gauge. It will fit in between the stones and be comfortable without being too large for the stones or too small to where it's not strong enough to support the stones on the cuff. And for this particular wire wrap, you want to have a lot of wire pre-cut. And I always say less is more. If you have extra wire at the end, it's fine. You can trim it off. And if you don't have enough, then you have to start over. So you want to have more than enough pre-cut. So for this particular style, I cut off about 4 feet of wire because we're going to go back and forth a few times. So you want to have extra wire. And I just cut that off and put this off to the side. And I'm going to pick a spot on my bangle. And if I want my stones kind of in the center here, I'm going to start over here on this end and have just maybe an inch or so of empty space. However, if you want to wire wrap all the way around, you can totally do that. It's your preference. But hello, Linda. But I'm going to start up here. So I'm going to just take the end of my wire and kind of hold it in place and bend it around here a little bit just to kind of get it anchored. And I'm going to wire wrap a few times around it. And you might have your wire kind of flop around a little bit. That is okay. And I'm going to go around 3 times. And I'm going to pinch it down. And go back this way. And when I'm working with wire, I've done a few things myself. I've taken my tools and curled it around the top for like extra art look. You know, it's just a little bit prettier. Or you can just wire wrap it around like this for more of a basic wire wrap. But you want to have the end of your wire, let me get that down on there, sitting on top of the bangle. That way, if there's any raw edges, it's not going to be on your skin directly. So you can either just cut it flush and it will tuck down and kind of sit on the top, or you can take your round nose pliers and kind of make a little curly. I'll actually do it this way. I did this on my other one. And just kind of make like a little curl like that, and you can just kind of smash it down and it will stay on the top and be a little decorative. I'm like a little nervous right now, so I'm like trying to tuck it on there without looking like an idiot on camera. Anyways, so I'm going to go one more time around here, and then I'm going to start adding stones. So for this one, you want to take your stones and you want to go all the way across the top with stones in a flat one-way direction. So you just take a handful of them and slide them on your wire. And you add as many as you need to go across the top of your bangle. Yes, they are having a sale right now on artbeads.com for Memorial Day. It's a really great sale. So you just want to add stones. This might take a few minutes because they're kind of small. And them to the top. And I'm again working with 4, or you can use 5mm, whatever stone you want. I'm working with watermelon tourmaline, and it's faceted and it's a round shape. When you're doing this particular project, you want to work with the round stone because they're going to sit on the top like so with wire going in between them. And I think it's a little bit easier to be working with a round stone when you're doing that. I feel like I'm pulling out all the same color here. And I love with watermelon tourmaline. Oh yeah, it's totally safe for your skin. Unless you have copper allergies, then you might not want to use the copper. You would probably want to find a sterling silver or a different, depending on if you have any metal allergies or not. But if you're fine with copper, it doesn't turn green and it should be just fine. All right, so I'm trying to develop a pattern here, how we'll be going over the top. And you could do this with different color stones. They also have different color flat wire. They have it in bronze and silver and rose gold and regular gold. So if you are not a copper fan, you can swap it out for a different color of metal. And then they have the corresponding wire available to purchase as well. So you could use the gold flat wire with gold 24 gauge wire and then make a bracelet. Okay, I think I'm almost finished, and then we will get on to wire wrapping. And I've used this technique on earrings. It's a lot of fun for hoop earrings as well. And I feel like it gives kind of a dramatic look for a wire wrapping. Okay, and as you're working, you want to kind of measure along the top to find out if you're where you are wanting to be at with your beads. So for example, if you just want to be on the top portion, you can end it right there. If you want to add more while you're doing this, you can push your wire back down to the one side to give you more room if you wanted to add more beads along the top. It's such a beautiful stone. And chips, I think chips would be awesome. I have not tried it. I think that's a fantastic idea. I would totally try some chips because you could wire in between the chips. I think that will look really cool. So I also want to make sure as I'm doing this that I have the equal amount of wire on each side. So if I'm pausing here to look at my stones, I want to make sure it's balanced so I have the same amount of wire on each side, so I'm not like lopsided with too many stones on one side and not so much on the other. So I'm thinking this looks like it's a good place to stop. So actually I need a little bit more space. I need to go down this way a little bit more. When you're working with this one, you're going to have a wire gap. So what you want to do is actually come down here a little bit, and you'll leave a space. I forgot about that. Okay, so I need to take a little bit of these off. When you're measuring your stones to make sure that they're in the right spot for equal metal width on each side, you're going to be leaving a gap. So for this one, I'm going to leave an inch of wire. And you want to bring your stones over the top. You want to bring them close to one side so they're snug together. And then you want to measure out a 1/2 inch to 1 inch depending on how many stones you have and how large they are. So I'm going to leave about 1 inch, and I'm going to wire wrap on this side of the bangle a few times to get it anchored on there. And then I'm going to pull a stone down. And you want to leave a gap because you'll be using this space filled up with wire as you go back around. And you also want to make sure it's pulled down so it's centered onto your bangle. That way the stones are in the middle of the bangle as you're going back across. So I have one here. I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to crisscross like this over in front of the stone. And you want to bring it down tight enough to where it's going to hold the stone in place and on the wire like this, but not too tight because you don't want to crack your stone and have the stone break and fall off. But you also want to make sure it stays put. So you just want to use like a nice kind of a tight pull, and then you want to slide the next stone down to where it meets in front of the wire and repeat this step and do it again. And then as you're going, you're just going to repeat this step, bringing the stone over, crossing your wire in front of it like so. And they continue until you go all the way around with all of your stones. And you'll start to see part of the pattern forming with like this really nice crisscross with the wire. And you also want to double check that your stones are staying centered on the outside of the bangle as you're wire wrapping them in place. So you just pull your stone down, and as you're doing this, you're going to see you're running out of wire. So that's okay. That's why we have a wire gap. And sometimes it's hard to guess how much wire you're going to need, which is another reason why it is okay to undo this side if you need to when you get over there. So we will figure out where we're at when we get to the other side. Because sometimes you have too much or you don't have enough and you kind of have to adjust it on your first side. And again, you just pull a stone up and wire up around it. And it's fairly easy and quick project. Like, I think this would be great as a gift. You know, you can make one for yourself if you want to go out for the evening and just have something quick to make to match your outfit. And you could use whatever stones you have around. Let's say if you have lapis lazuli, then you could use that with the silver wire. If you want amethyst for a birthday, you know, there's the gold and silver wire. So you can mix amethyst or all kinds of stones like birthstones with whatever corresponding metal you like to match. So I think it's a great technique. And I'm going to pull this one up. So I have a little bit extra room, which is fine. So what I'm actually going to do is undo this wire on this side, which is why you want to have a couple extra coils on there. And I'm going to bring this stone in closer to the one in front of it. And I'm going to wire up around this one like so. And hold it in place. And then I'm going to get ready to go back across this way. But before I do that, I'm going to go back over on this side and just tighten this down again, just like this. And now I'm actually done with this side. I will not be touching it again, so I can trim off the excess wire and pinch it down. And this will stay like this. Now I'm going to go back around this way. So I have my first crisscross done along the bangle. And this is why you need to have extra wire, because if you're short, you won't have enough to go back around everything. So you want to make sure you have extra wire. And again, if you have too much, you can just trim it off at the end. So now we're going to go back over and around each stone individually and crisscross over each one. And in the middle of each stone, you just want to like kind of gently pull it down, but also strong enough to where it will stay in its place and it won't pull back up and it won't buckle or have kind of like too much around. It will sit and nestle in between those stones. So you go back around like this, and then just keep going back around like this in between each stone. Oh, thanks, Marianne. I really appreciate it. I've done this a few times. It's a fun project. And then you just go back around. As you're going, you'll see this really cool crisscross pattern start. Now on the other side, it's going to look more plain like this, and that's okay. So you have two different wire textures on each side of the bangle. And again, you just go back around each one like so. And then when you're on the other side, you just wrap it around a few times. And you can, again, coil it up, press it down, decorate it, make it to look like it's really pretty. Or you can just cut off the excess wire and pinch it closed on the top. And again, you want to have any wire edges on the top. That way, if for some reason it lifts up or something, it's not directly on your arm. And then here you go. You have your finished bangle. And my ends are almost the same size on each side. Now, if you finish this and you find one side is a little bit, longer than the other one, you can snip it down and roll it up and nobody will know the difference. So here's your bangle. And again, you can just slide it on your wrist and pinch it down. And the great thing about this wire is you can pinch it down and open it up and it's not going to like snap and break very easily. I feel like it's a really high quality, kind of a stiff wire, but it's also pliable where you can pinch it down and open it. However, I'd suggest if you're going to wear a lot to kind of pick a spot you want to keep it at and then just kind of just roll it on and off without pinching it down too much. That way, over time, it still holds its shape really well. And isn't that a great project? So it's like a half an hour or so and you have a really pretty bracelet to wear. And so this is one side, kind of close it up. And then this is the front side. So again, you're doing this really pretty crisscross pattern around it. And then that will be the top. And so again, if you have like a birthstone you want to use, I just think this would be so pretty. And then you could also do the same pattern on a pair of earrings. And you could make this into a necklace and make a pendant so you could have a jewelry set. So you could do the same thing and then boom, you have a pendant for a necklace. You could just make it a little bit smaller. So thank you, Lynn. I really appreciate it. So I just think it's a great technique to make multiple pieces of jewelry. And so for the next one, I made a pair of matching earrings, but I did more of an easier, I guess, wire wrapping technique. It's a little different. I just wire wrapped the outside of the flat wire like so with just 3 stones going over it. And I have the flat wire joined at the top with jump rings. So it's a quick pair of earrings to match your bracelet. Put those there. So for the earrings, I used a wood dowel. I'm using the 25 millimeter one. And I went ahead and I measured out 4 inches. Now, if you want to have larger, smaller earrings, you would want to cut more of the flat wire. So for this one, again, I just kind of unrolled it, looked for my 4-inch mark and trimmed it down. My wire cutters. And then I'm going to line them up so I know I'm cutting the same amount twice. Like so. Oh, awesome. That's great, Marianne. I love this wire. It's so fun. So then I'm going to use the wood dowel and I'm going to form the copper around it as best as I can for a teardrop shape. Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that. I love it when people tell me I make it look easy. That's awesome. So for this one, again, I'm using this one for a larger teardrop. There's the wood dowel set is amazing. So it comes with the set of 5 and it comes with a large all the way down to like a really nice skinny thin one. And you can use them for rings, for hoops, for earrings. I have lots of tutorials on using these with wire. These are the best tool ever. And so they're really great for forming metal for all kinds of stuff. And if you wanted to have a smaller earring, you could just use a smaller dowel to form the base. And we're going to do this twice. Now, really quick pro tip here. If your stuff is kind of bent, you can use your flat nose pliers and just kind of go over it, and it will help you flatten everything out a little bit. And then we're going to go around here. Actually, I want a smaller dowel. I'm actually just going to pull out my set. So it comes in this really cool candy case here, and they slide in and out like so, and a large assortment. I just love these because you can use these for all kinds of really cool wire projects. So I'm actually going to go down. I'm going to use 15 millimeter because I want these a little bit skinnier, like so. That way I can get more of a drop shape. And you just kind of want to squeeze. Yeah, dude, these dowels are so amazing. Oh, that's so cool. You're watching from Oregon. I live by Oregon. Actually, I'm really close to Portland. So yeah, I'm just going to squeeze these around to kind of get my base curve a little bit closer together here for a little bit more of a teardrop shape. And then they'll be a little bit smaller too. Here we go. There we go. It's like, no, man, I don't want to bend right there because I'm going to be difficult. So then when you're done forming these, you just want to grab, again, your round nose pliers. And I'm going to curve the ends in. Now, there are different things you can do with these. You can pinch these together and wire wrap around the top. I've also punched a hole in the bottom and had beads dangle through. You can do a lot of different projects with this wire, but to make it a little bit easier, I just thought I would round the top here and then join them together with jump rings. But I've also done a pair of earrings where I attached chain at the top and then I wire wrapped around the hoop itself, so you can have chain and an ear wire, or you can flip it around like so, and you can have your ear wire at the top. So there are a couple different ways that you can work with this shape and do something. I'm not sure how it would work if you did it sideways. Just kidding. So you'd either go this way, probably, or this way. And I'm not liking this bump right there. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to round this one out. So yeah, just to make it a little bit easier, I thought you could do a lot depending on how much time you want to invest. But if you're looking for a quick project, that's why I thought I'd just put jump rings at the top to join them together. And I'm going to put that in there again. And when you're working with wire, you know, anytime you feel like it's not holding its shape, you can always put it in again and reshape it and just kind of bring it to where you want it to be at. So before I add jump rings and ear wires, I'm going to wire wrap around these. That way I can move it around and get better access to the wire. It's easier to work with. I do the jump rings and the ear wires at the end. So for this one, you don't need as much wire, but I'm going to cut off probably 2 feet, 2.5 feet. I'm all about, in this case, more is better instead of less is more, because if something happens, you have extra wire on there to work with. Does it get tougher? It does not. I don't know. It's a good question. For me, it doesn't toughen up as I work with it. The consistency stays the same. However, you could probably hammer it and texture it and it might toughen it up because it is raw wire. So that would probably, actually, that's a really cool idea to hammer this and texture it. I'm not sure how it would handle it because the wire is a little thin. This wise, if you hammer it too much, it might dent all the way through. But if you did a light texture, it might toughen it up. That's a good question. So for this one, I'm wire wrapping around the top to get my wire anchored. And I want it pressed down, and it will hold its place. See, look, I'm trying to move it and it's hard to move because once you get it on there, it likes to stay put, which is what you want. That is good. And I'm going to straighten out my wire here a little bit. So for this one, I'm using 3 millimeter tourmaline. And it's kind of a small stone, so it likes to run away from you sometimes. You have to like just hold it in your hand as best as you can and bring it down your wire. And for this one, I had a couple ideas. I thought it would be fun to like do my little bridge thing here where you kind of have it pop off the top like a blossom. And then that's one thing you could do. I've also done the crisscross on this one. And for this one, I just thought, I'm just going to go around like this. So I'm going to have it lay on top of the flat wire, like the bangle, and just bring my wire around and go like this. And do two wraps. And then have the stone sit on the outside like so. So I'm going to do 2 wraps. And then on my 3rd wrap, bringing it up and around, then I'll add stones again. And add 3 more. And sometimes for fun, when I'm making jewelry, I like to have stones fly out of my hand, all over my table and out my window and just wherever they feel like going. So occasionally I throw beads for fun because they don't want to stay in place. And I think, you know what, that's fine. You can go bounce over there. It's fine. You don't want to be on a piece of jewelry, you go be free. Because, you know, we all have messy tables with beads everywhere. And if they want to go flying off, maybe they just want to go home. So again, when I'm wrapping around, I want the earrings to have the stones on the center going around. So I'm going to pull my wire up and kind of have it sit here in the middle and maybe pinch it down a little bit if it wants to fly around. And hold the stones flat on the outside and then just wire wrap again twice. And then bring it up on the 3rd pass, then I add more stones. And so you can kind of see it coming around on the outside. I think it's a really pretty pattern. It comes down almost like an S shape, sort of, like a nice little curve, using the wrong word on that one. And yeah. Oh, dude, I'm all about crawling under my desk to find all those surprise beads I dropped I forgot about before I vacuum. Because when you vacuum, then you have that wonderful sound of beads crunching as it rolls around. Yeah. And again, I'm just going to hold it kind of in the center here of the wire and go around twice and then bring it up on the 3rd time and add more beads. And here's a close-up. You can see how they're coming around. And I love this wire too. So the wire's sparkly and the stones are sparkly. And it's a nice, like, elegant pair of earrings. And you know, when you're working with the wire, again, you just want to kind of hold it in place to get the bead centered on there, and then wire wrap around the flat wire again, like so. And already we're almost done with this pair of earrings. Your cat takes off with your beads. So does mine, Diane. I found a bracelet upstairs. I find pieces of leather. If they can pull on a string and drag beads with them, they will. And I'll find them throughout the house wondering, how did that get there? One of my cats in particular, he loves to drag stuff around. So it's fun. I look at it, he's leaving me jewelry presents around the house that he tried to take off with himself. Okay, here we go. And for this one, I'm almost finished. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Am I going to do 7? I'm going to cram one more on there. I'm going to do 8 stone wraps around. Like so. I'm going to push that up because I want to add a little bit more. You might be able to move these up. If you wire wrapped tight, it's a little hard. Like mine are not really moving, but that's okay because you don't really want them to. All right, I'm going to put that down. I'm going to see if I can get another section of stone on here to kind of eat up that space. Okay, there we go. It's kind of a little close. Well, if you have enough room to put them on there, then you can put them on there. And if not, I think I might just have to finish with wire. So when you're getting ready to finish, you just want to go around a few times, like 3 or 4 times, and then cut off your excess wire. And then just pinch it closed on the top, like so. And you have one earring base finished. Then for this one, I want to push it together and gently, because you don't want to press down on the beads because they might snap and break. The 3mm are a little bit more fragile and they can crack pretty easily, and you don't want them to crack and fall off your wire work. So I'm just going to kind of support it while I take this and kind of pinch it together because I want to bring this closer together on the form. Like so. That way when I add my jump ring, it's a little bit closer together. Okay, where's my one? And if I have leftover wire, I'm not sure I'm going to use it because I don't want to run out of wire and not have enough to finish the earrings. So I'm going to cut a little bit extra. Again, I'm going to do about 2.5 feet. That's so funny. I think I just heard my cat upstairs yell at me. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and anchor this down with a few wire wraps on the frame. Sorry, like so. Actually, I need this to end there. There we go. Move this one up. And you want to, as you're working too, you want to make sure that your wire and everything is starting at the same place with the same amount of stones on each earring. That way when they're finished, they match. So for example, when you have your earrings here, you want to make sure you have the same amount of stones on the outside and the same amount of wraps, and that they start in the same place as much as possible so they match as you're wearing them. Okay. Actually, I'm going to skip ahead to this one. So taking the earring base, I'm going to use 3 jump rings. For this one, I think I have 6mm selected. That way they're large enough to fit around your flat wire like so, with enough space. If you use a smaller jump ring, it won't be large enough to fit around the wire and still have the flexibility that you need. You want the jump rings to be able to move on the earring, so that way you have the wire space, so that way it's not too stiff and it will kind of flow with as you're walking and be comfortable. And so I'm taking 2 jump rings, 1 on each side, and I'm going to join them in the center with 1 more jump ring like this. And I'm going to leave it open and add my ear wire and slide it on there sometime today. And then take my tools and close the jump ring. And I'm going to pinch these together just a little bit more, like so. And then you have the top where your ear wire meets. So that way it holds everything into place, and it also faces frontwards. So the reason why you have your jump rings like this is so that way your ear wire will come out this way, the same direction as your wire, and it doesn't want to tilt, for example, like this way and not hang nice and flat this direction. Now, if you did want to have your earring go this direction, you could change how you're adding your jump rings, and you can even take a tool and take your top loop and rotate it around so you could have your earring hang this way, for example, instead of this way. I've done that before too. This does rotate around using pliers. So for a close-up of today's earrings, we have this beautiful pair here. And again, I'm using the Artistic Wire brand 21 gauge 3mm flat craft wire. And we have the beads going on the outside like so. I go a little bit close up here so you can kind of tell. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wraps of stones around the outside. And you can make probably 3 pairs of earrings out of 1 strand of the tourmaline. So it's a really great deal if you buy the beads. You can get multiple projects out of them. And then here's a close-up of the bracelet. Again, 1 package of these makes, I think, 5 or 6 cuff bracelets. And it's priced really, really well. So you can get multiple projects out of each piece that you pick up. And then again, here's a close-up of today's bracelet. And again, you have the wire going on the outside with your stones. And I also like how the wire tucks in between the stones. So what you mostly see is stones and not wire. And the stones are just really super glittery and, you know, have a nice sparkle, but it's also not too sparkly. And then here's the other side. And here you go. And for more fun too, you could... Oh, thanks, Wanda. I really appreciate that. I was also thinking you could add like charms to the bottom of this, or wire wrap more stones and have like stone dangles come off the edge if you wanted to. So as you're wearing it, you could have stones coming off the back here. I mean, I feel like you could do so many different things to individualize this project for yourself. So you could add charms or different color stones, or make it unique for a birthday present. And again, we're going to do a little close up on everything. So here's the tourmaline beads, and here's your wire and this wire. And then I also used this size mandrel for these earrings, was 15.8. And then I had used the step up bracelet mandrel. And I'm going to rotate my phone up and hope that the audio does not go weird. So bear with me for a minute. There's outside my window. Yeah. All right. Can you guys hear me okay? Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time to come hang out with me and say hi and make a project with me and tune in on Tuesday. I really like this time slot. I feel like 11 works really, really well. If you have a viewpoint on a time slot, please send me a message and let me know if you like the afternoon or the morning better, and my light just turned off by itself. Thank you so much for being here. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to artbeads.com, send them an email or a message, and hopefully I'll see you next Tuesday. And have a great rest of your week. And thank you so much. And don't forget to shop the shoppable links.